So I'm doing another podcast, and my podcast is called Sac Taff, and it's only going to probably be for about 10 minutes because I think that's all I'm going to be able to do. I think that's all I'm going to be able to do. But welcome. Um, mm, I don't know whether you've got to a position in your life where you sort of thought to yourself, do you know what? It's now time to make improvements. It's now time to build yourself up. It's now time to move forward. Um, it could be in your personal life, financially, spiritually, in your business life, and you know now is the time. Now is the time. So you sort of think, well, how can I move forward? What can I do to move forward? What can I do to make improvements? You might do a bit of research. And I think it's also a character thing. You've got to, make sure that you're sort of feeling secure within yourself. If you haven't got any insecurities, you sort of know where they are and you're trying to, develop yourself more. So it's all positive. And I think we're always going to have insecurities. I think we're always going to have insecurities. It's good to work on yourself, to better yourself. But sometimes when you share about these things as well, it can draw people near you for people to say, oh, she's human. Even though I'm sure people know that you are. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's the stage I've got to. Every now and then I will get to a stage where I have to say to myself, it's time to make improvements, right? And I feel like I have, bit by bit, I have made improvements. But then, and time goes on and you're content with that. And then you look back and you reflect and you sort of say, no, I've got to even make more improvements and so on. And it goes on and on and on. And I don't think you can ever get to the stage where it's like, everything's spot on, everything's perfect. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, but I think it's healthy. I think it's healthy to reflect and sit back and sort of say, yeah, that went well, that didn't go as well. What did I do there? What can I do to make things better? Maybe get some advice, do a bit of research, so on and so forth. Okay. That's more or less how I've developed my writing, my literature as regards to my books. Because I shared in the beginning, I wrote my first book, Sacrifice of a Lifetime. I've managed to remember to bring it today. Yeah, but this is the very old version. This one here, I've shown it before. It's very basic. I've got another one that has an image on it, and I'll have to look for that one, but it's somewhere. I know I've got them, and I remember finding the more up-to-date version, and I remember showing it to someone, and I was going to take a picture of it and maybe put it online or something like that, or just use it as reference. And I remember her saying, haven't you got a newer version? And it's like, the book was written over 20 years ago. And when a book ages, the way that I see it, adds value to it. So it didn't look new. You can tell it had been used and you can tell it had aged a bit, but I think the value was there. It goes to show I did write it a while ago. So we've all got different ways of looking at things, haven't we? Yeah, so and I've said before I'm going to update it and rewrite it and so on and so forth. And then I'm promoting this book, Taffy How, which I've showed. And again, this has gone through all different stages. And I got to the point where I went over it and over it and over it again. I've had people go over it and over it and over again and so on and so forth. I've had some professional people go over it and help me with it. And then I've had some professional people, of a certain level, go over it and over it and over it. And I've come to the stage where it's like, I'm happy with it. And I had someone read it. She's a teacher, and she went over it, and she said to me, pointed out certain pointers, and I'm like, that's fine, because you know what? I know that I've gone over it and over and over it, over and over. I had a few people go over it, and recently I've had someone else of a high level of education go over it. And you know what? I'm happy with it now, and when I put it out there in a much bigger way, when I get the constructive criticism, I always take on board constructive criticism to make improvements. Always. And but I know that I've spent a lot of time on it. If I hadn't spent a lot of time on it and gone over and over and over it again, over and over it, and had someone go through it again, and so on and so forth, and then, you know, it got constructive criticism, I would take it on board. But because I know that I don't know if you know what I mean, I know that I've spent time on it, and it's still not, you know, it still does need one or two things, even more than one or two things, changing, right? And I'm aware of that. But I'm also aware that when I read books, sometimes I can see typos and a few errors as well. I'm aware of it. And I'm also aware of that, you know, some books sometimes aren't written as greatly as other books, but sometimes they do better as regards to drama and film. I'm aware of it. I'm aware of it. So anyway, I've come to the stage where, you know, I'm looking at taking things a stage higher, which is good. And I think if you're doing anything in life, if you want to progress, that's what we have to do. So what happens is, I'm promoting my work, I'm promoting my book as I do, and I'm talking about Taffy Howe. I'm talking about that book. And I come across a lady who takes the book with interest, and she looks at a page and she looks at the back and she says, you know, that this isn't written correctly, and at the back here, it shouldn't be like that. It's meant to be like this. It's meant to be like that. And I said, no, I understand what you're saying. I do. I understand what you're saying, because I've noticed that people will look at the back of my book and they will say to me, no, that shouldn't be there. I've shared it with you before in one of the videos. No, that shouldn't be there. And it's always going to come up. No, that shouldn't be there. This needs to be here. I know what I'm talking about. I'm a professional editor. I know what I'm talking about. I'm a professional proofreader. I know what I'm talking about. And I sort of take on board their criticism. Then when before I get it printed, when I'm ready, I normally do some changes, and then I get my new version and I'm like, fantastic, it's as it should be. And then within could be an hour or less than that, or what have you, maybe a day or so, someone will say, no, it shouldn't be like that. That needs to go there. It will be continuous. And that happened about 3 or 4 times. I changed it about 3 or 4 times, and I came to the conclusion that I'm never going to get it right. It's never going to happen, because, you know, all right, it could, right? I could sort of get this top editor or what have you. But the way that I see it is, it's written as it's written. And it's been changed and changed and changed and changed again, because I've had professional people look at it and said, no. That's all I'm saying. And it just feels as though, because it's me doing it and I've written the book, you know, I haven't gone to, a publisher or top editor, what have you. It's easy to look at the work and say, no. I know what I'm talking about. Do you know what I mean? And you know what? They do. But it's written. The way that I see it is, I've used all my energy to write this book, and I'm going to have to stop this podcast. 9 minutes has gone already, and I said I was going to talk to you for 10 minutes. Can't believe it, honestly. But what I'll do is I'll do a second part, because it is a topic that, you know, I'm sure maybe you might not be interested in. You may, you know. But I know that if I was doing something and I heard someone talk about what they're doing like this, I would be listening with interest to see what the outcome was. And I'd be looking at their journey. And I bet you their journey would be a fantastic one, because it takes resilience and courage, right, to do something for yourself and put it out there for the public to criticise. It's not an easy thing. You've written something that's delicate. Sometimes it's personal, you know, and you're putting it out there for the public to read, to criticise, and then you have to take the criticism. You have to take on board. You have to be strong enough to take that criticism. It's not easy. So I think to do that is absolutely, I think it's great. And I'm not saying, oh, wow, I'm great. I'm just saying for people in general, if you're doing something, right, and you've started to do something and you've had the courage to do it, well done. And just continue to be consistent. I want to, because I want to end this podcast in a positive light, and then I'll continue to talk about it in another podcast. But basically, and it's funny enough, now I'm talking to you, I've come out with these words, and not only hopefully am I encouraging you, I feel encouraged by the words that I'm coming out with. Yeah, I really do, because I mean, when you are promoting and you're you you're putting yourself out there to the public, and you do get this criticism, you've got to have something to hold on to that's positive. Don't you? You have to. But I'll do part 2 of this, and I'm going to say farewell because I've only got a few more minutes left before it cuts completely. But